All right, welcome everybody to the September 18th, 2025 edition of the Historic Preservation Commission meeting for the City of Glendale. It is 5:07 p.m. We're going to begin. Meetings are broadcast live on Glendale TV, viewable on Spectrum Cable, Channel 6, and AT&T U-verse Channel 99. Meetings are also streamed live in high definition on the city webpage, glendale.gov/live, on youtube.com/myglendale, and on Apple TV, Roku, Amazon Fire, iOS, and Android devices using a free app called Cablecast and choosing Glendale TV from the menu. Meetings are also archived on the city website for viewing anytime at glendaleca.gov/agendas. Call 818-548-4013 for program schedules. For public comments and questions during the meeting, call 818-937-8100. Public comments on a specific agenda item will be taken when that agenda item is discussed. If you have any question about matters on the agenda or requests for assistance, please contact the city clerk at 818-548-2090 during regular business hours. Please turn off all cellular phones while inside the meeting location. So I have mine in airplane mode so it doesn't buzz or anything. And we'll get started with roll call.
Thank you, Chair. Commissioner Bartanian?
Here.
Commissioner Cusack?
Here.
Commissioner Durham?
Here.
Commissioner Head?
Here.
And Chair Paul?
Here.
Thank you so much.
Okay, wonderful. Reports regarding posting of agenda. The agenda for the September 18th, 2025 regular meeting of the Glendale Historic Preservation Commission, this one, was posted on September 15th, 2025 on the bulletin board outside City Hall. Okay, on to approval of minutes. Do I have approval of minutes? Does anybody approve or have any changes? Commissioner Durham.
I'll move to approve the minutes.
Okay.
I'll second it.
Second. Okay. Great. Okay, so we have minutes approved. Wonderful, with Commissioner Durham approving and Commissioner Bartanian seconding. All right. So we're on to agenda item 4, oral communication. Discussion is limited to items not part of this agenda. Each speaker is limited to 5 minutes. Glendale Historic Preservation Commission may question or respond to the speaker, but there will be no debate or decision. Do we have any oral communication items at all? No. Okay. On to agenda item 5, board and commissioner member comments. Do I have any board or commissioner member comments? Commissioner Durham.
This is a little bit outside of Glendale, but bordering us, Los Feliz. Saturday, I was invited to tour the ongoing restoration, it's almost complete, of Richard Neutra's Level Health House from 1929. It's undergoing a multi-million-dollar, multi-year restoration. And thank you, Ani. Here's some photographs of the work. Unfortunately, I can't show anything of the inside, but the restoration is incredibly done. And fortunately, the interior of the house, because I know I toured it about 20 years ago, and it was quite intact. A family had owned it for 60 years. And it had a lot of deferred maintenance, but everything was intact. And I'm happy to say the new owners doing the restoration are keeping everything original about the interior. So there aren't any real changes. And they've researched all the finishes and colors to replicate the original. So I just wanted to point that out because it's such a famous house.
Remember who the restoration architect is?
No, Jay, I don't.
Okay.
It's Barbara Lamprecht.
Okay.
So Barbara Lamprecht did, I believe this is Barbara's project. She wrote a big Taschen book on Richard Neutra, one of those big, size of the coffee table itself. And I believe Barbara Lamprecht has been consulting on this, so they definitely got the right person. There's a book out there. I think it's called The Sun Seekers.
Yeah.
It's by Lyra Kiltson, if I'm getting her name right. And it's all about health seekers coming to California for the sun and all this kind of modernism, which was seen, with all the glass and modernism in Europe was kind of started off as something rather sanitary, and Lovell, who did this, I don't know if they talked about this on your tour, but he was kind of one of the original holistic doctors for Southern California, practicing vegetarian diet or whatever the case is. But there's a wonderful book about these early seekers coming here from Europe and practicing this kind of modernism and connecting it to health and hygiene and all of that. It's a very fascinating book. Commissioner
Lots of
Durham?
naked exercise going on there.
What?
Lots of naked exercise.
Yes, a lot of that too.
Nude
Yes.
sunbathing on the outside porches, and all the sleeping porches are still there. They haven't been enclosed. But I think it's purported to be the first steel frame house built in the U.S., certainly in California. And it's interesting because it's not built, it may look like it's built into the hillside, but it's actually built away from the hillside. At the lowest level, there's a courtyard between the front of the house and the hillside. So in the bottom right picture, that's the entrance to the front door on the top level. You're actually walking across a bridge to get to the house. So the siding is very interesting.
Fascinating. Where's the main entrance again?
You're looking at the front door is open in that picture, the lower right-hand
Lower
corner.
right, okay. Oh, I
That's
see.
the bridge to get to the front door from the street.
Huh, they probably never got a lot of trick-or-treaters.
Well, and that's a pretty steep hill. If you look in no, I don't think we can see it in this picture, but you can see the Griffith Observatory. The views are incredible. It's right at the top of the hill.
Well, wonderful. Well, thank you for sharing that. Are there any other comments? I think
I have one closer
Yes.
to Glendale, talking about restorations. The Lloyd Wright's Derby House up in Chevy Chase Canyon is on the market right now, and that's already on the register and already has a Mills Act contract, but it's quite in need of heavy restoration itself. So if anyone's looking for a major restoration project, the Derby House is a good choice.
right. I think that came in front of us about a year ago, didn't it? It was one
For
of
the
ours.
Mills Act.
Yeah. I saw a presentation on that.
It was already on the register, but for some reason, it had never gotten a Mills Act.
Interesting. Well, there's another Lloyd Wright house on the market, David Lynch's house.
Right, I saw that.
Huh?
I saw
saw
that.
that.
Yeah, that's all these Lloyd Wrights on the
Is
market.
that in the Hollywood Hills?
Hollywood Hills, yes. And Eric Lloyd Wright did the pool and the little pool house behind it, his son. So. Okay, wonderful. Well, thank you so much.
I have one
Go ahead.
procedural question for Jay, with all due respect. Maybe it was at our last meeting, or the meeting, our last meeting, when Chair Paul asked to make a motion, and you commented that the chair couldn't make motions, and I asked the question, even if he passes the gavel, because I thought I'd seen that happen at council or other boards and commissions, and I didn't think about it any more than that, but then at the next charter review committee, someone on the committee, said to the chair, you need to pass the gavel whenever you're making your own comments on an agenda item. And Mike Garcia was in attendance and said, no, not in Glendale. Generally, we only have the chair pass the gavel when he or she is making a motion. So I just was going to ask Jay to clarify. Well, no, I mean,
I
not trying
laugh because I am no Robert's Rule of Order expert, but I'll try.
yeah, if I hadn't heard Garcia, because I think I've seen that before, passing the gavel, but I wasn't sure. But when Garcia said that,
Generally, it's when there's a deadlock. If someone, if there are two, let me think how this would work. If if the chair or the mayor, say there are 3 people seated, and so you have a quorum, and 2 people are in disagreement with the mayor, and the mayor wants to make the motion, but the mayor can't make the motion, the mayor needs to pass the gavel, so then that person, he or she, can make the motion. That's how I understand gavel passing.
Okay.
When you have to step outside of your role where you're not ordinarily allowed to make the motion.
Yeah, it was the fact that Garcia made a more general statement, and maybe he was just shortcutting that explanation.
Yeah.
So it just was something that caught my attention when he said that, because he did say it in a very general sense. But
Yeah, I'm not sure
what
that
you're
we
saying
have
makes
special Glendale rules. Or,
well, no. But what you're saying makes sense too. So
yeah, that's the only time I've ever experienced it, which doesn't mean there aren't other times you might do it. And we do have, in my very office, I have a copy of Robert's Rules, which may need to be, have that spine cracked a little more, so.
anyway, thank you for. I'm not trying to put you on the spot, but thank you for clarifying.
Well, no, I can give myself an assignment for next time, so feel free to bring it up next month and see if I've done my homework.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, all right, wonderful. Are there any other board or commission comments? Okay, we're good. Okay, agenda item 6, any old business of any kind? Old business. Okay, no old business. Let's go to new business. Agenda item 7A. Item 1502 Royal Boulevard, Glendale Register nomination and Mills Act application, PMA 00142025. So we have a project description. Today's going to be an advisory review of the property owner's nomination to list 1502 Royal Boulevard in the Glendale Register of Historic Resources and application to enter into a Mills Act contract with the city. So do we have a presentation from staff? Or
We do.
Okay.
So here's 1502 Royal Boulevard. Give you a little context. I think everyone knows Royal Boulevard pretty well. It's a historic district. There are already a number of Glendale Register properties along the beautiful curving street lined with palm trees. And the property that we're looking at is a really interesting one in that it is built much later than you would guess looking at it. It was built by a very interesting architect, and it's Gerard Colcord, who isn't a well-known in the popular universe of architects who are well-known, but among the architectural fan people out there and the real estate community, he's a very well-loved, well-respected architect, particularly in the Los Angeles area. He did a lot of celebrity houses, a lot of houses for very wealthy clientele. I'll show you a series of images of some of his other work later. But first, I wanted to introduce this house, which is quite lovely and has a lot of interesting things happening. Stylistically, I'm calling it Colonial Revival, and which is appropriate. But he had a style of his own in some ways that people called colonial farmhouse sometimes, where he kind of hybridized different ideas. And I want to emphasize that because I think one of the things that's really interesting here is that he kind of looked at the true colonial houses, those of the 18th century, the 19th century, where you had these English precedent houses that grew over time, over 100 years, over 200 years. Additions were made. They were an agglomeration of various L's and extensions and appendages. And he built many of his houses like that from scratch. So from the day it was finished, it looked like it had these pieces that had been cobbled together over time. And you can start seeing that when you look at the roof line, you look at the stepping of the roof profile, you look at the pieces of the house facing in different directions, not looking like what we would think of when you look at a lot of the classic colonial revivals that we have in Glendale, both designated and undesignated. So just breaking the house down into pieces, the central volume is where the primary entrance is. And you see that it's a 2-story house, but the second story is kind of subsumed in the roof. But you can see that it's a habitable space with the 4 prominent dormers. The brick cladding is only used at this central volume. You don't see the brick on the walls of the house, at least, anywhere else on the property. You've got 4 bays, but the property's a little off-center, where colonials often are symmetrical. This one's a little asymmetrical, with the entry portico just off to the side. But then you have the classic multi-light divided wood windows. You have the shutters on the windows on the ground floor, the brick path leading up. When we shift over to the left side of the house, you have a volume that's kind of deferential, steps down a little bit, is pushed back and recedes, and then it recedes even more by having this little covered porch with the slender columns and the segmental arches. We'll talk about that a little bit more in a minute. And then you have the volume that comes out toward the street with the massive chimney, which is another feature of colonial era architecture that's replicated here just for the sake of the design. So Colcourt's really playing with a lot of colonial era ideas. One thing that you notice, especially at the portico and this covered porch area, the detailing and design of these features, I think, are really kind of simplified. I think if this had been a Colcourt from the 20s or 30s, they would have been a little more detailed. They would have been a little more oriented toward the true detail and character of the earlier period. So I don't think that's a ding on the house. I think it's just an interesting kind of nuance of what it means to be a very late colonial revival style house. So detail of the porch, where you have a very simple pediment, just triangular pediment. You've got a few dental details, and you have these paired columns, which aren't a typical kind of colonial feature, but they certainly work in this case. And then you have the very simple dormers, which I think, again, would have probably been clad with wood or a little bit different in a more detailed version. Coming around, oops. To the side of the house, you have this shed extension, which again is similar to the kinds of additions you would see in a true colonial from 200 years previous. And it's just a simple box appended to the side of the house with a shed roof. You've got this little door coming out. And then you have this very cool chimney that you see on the side, where the chimney pokes out through the roof, which is kind of normal, but then you have the chimney shoulder poking out through the wall, which is not very normal. It's a very kind of creative solution. You don't see this feature on the original drawings, which we have. The owners have some of those drawings, which I'll show you in a bit. We don't show you the pictures of the interiors, but when you look at other Colcourt interiors, he put a lot of focus on the hearth and on the kitchen elements. And so this house has kind of a barbecue feeling element inside the kitchen of brick. So this area where the chimney's coming down and the little shoulder is manifests inside as this little indoor cooking area that's very characteristic of his work. And again, you start seeing the play of volumes coming around the side. Again, looks like things that may have been added, a dormer extension on the backside of the roof. Sorry, some of these photos are a little washed out, but this idea of this agglomeration of forms you see again and again as you come around the backside of the house. I'll show you there are a couple of areas where there have been some alterations, but overall the house has high integrity and looks very much like it did when it was completed in '65. So this is the backside. There's a garden pavilion that Colcourt designed and is original to this. And then one very curious thing about the property is that the garage/workshop building that you see in the background on the right, well, you see in both these pictures, was built long before the house was built. And it was just there. And we don't know much about it, except that it was built, and now I'm blanking on the year, I think 1949 or something. And we don't know that, we have no reason to think that Colcourt designed it. We don't know who built it. There is an assessor's record for it without a name on it, so we have the date. And the detailing and materials of it are different than the house, but it's obviously was designed as a colonial revival structure. And it just sat there along with a badminton court that's now gone. And there's a brick barbecue that you don't really see very well here, but there's a brick barbecue that was also built that we think dates to the earlier period of the house. So it's this kind of strange kind of combination, and I'll show you, actually now I can't remember if I think I included the aerial shot, so hold on, we may have that. Just to put names and faces together, the original owners were Tom and Arlene Brown. So you have some nice pictures of them, and then here's a picture of Colcord. You can see that the drawings show that he built the house for them. We don't always know that sometimes when we have early owners. We don't know if they just bought the house that had already been built or if that was built for them. Going back to this idea of the agglomeration that happens on true early colonial properties, and I don't know what happened here. The little captions are all, oh, I see, that's just a hangover from the previous slide. But you can see in each of these examples how these older buildings got pieced together over the years. The house on the bottom left is actually very close in terms of the massing with the little shed roofed appendage and the slightly off-center simple portico and simple volume of the main house. Going back to Colcord, the report that was written by Tim Gregory is quite good, and evidently Tim says that Colcord had more mentions and coverage in Architectural Digest than any other architect. I can't prove that, but evidently he was well respected and well thought of, at least by the editors of AD. So here are a couple of examples of other houses, and I chose these specifically because they bear some traits that we see at 1502 Royal, and especially in terms of the varying roof lines and shapes and kind of subtle drops and sudden roof changes. So I thought these were kind of cool examples to see. And then this is a couple of examples of other Colcord houses displaying some of the similar tendencies. Some of these are a little bit grander than 1502, which is really just a two-bedroom house when it comes down to it. But you see similar tropes coming in. You see the little segmental arched porch cover. This is the front of this house, the Wright house from 1950. The back of the house shows he played with angles sometimes that we'll see when we look at the breezeway going to the garage. And then here are just four other houses that I sort of chose by random, partly with the upper ones to show that he worked in a variety of styles. He did a lot of Tudor houses also. All of these are from the Los Angeles area. And then again, the lower left house, you know, has some resemblance to the house you're looking at tonight. So that was just to give you kind of an angle with Colcord. He also had a few celebrity clientele. He did a house for Debbie Reynolds. He did the house on the left for Alan Ladd, which I think is funny that Alan Ladd was not happy with the work of Wallace Neff, and he fired him and hired Colcord, although that arched piece, I'm just going to guess, someone added later. And then as I was looking at this, I found, hey, Beck was living in a house that sold sometime not that long ago, and it's a 1964 Colcord, so he was really kept going into the 70s. He was still designing, and this is the back of that house. I couldn't find a picture of the front. So anyways, coming back here, we see a lot of these features just played out on Royal Boulevard. The gate, which I'm not going to talk about in terms of our zoning code, but it's a lovely feature that looks to be of the original design and seems very appropriate to the house. And the drawings, which it's so cool that the owners have these, show that there were changes. So we don't know if this is the initial version that then was changed in the field, or if there's another set of drawings somewhere. But you can see that the portico was originally a simpler form with the shed roof that came down, and that had a segmental arch with just single columns, where we have the three arches and the two square columns was originally just going to be a wall with a bay window. The chimney on the left in that living room wing looks pretty much the same. The rest of the house looks pretty much the same. But notice that the roof over on the left had one single ridge line instead of the step-down ridge line. So we never know what happens when we have a set of drawings that doesn't necessarily reflect what was built. Was it something that changed in the field? Was the architect involved in that or not? Is there another set of drawings that we just haven't seen that reflect the needs of the client or the interests of the client that they worked out with the architect? But again, since we have very few houses in Glendale that we even know who the architect is, it's kind of amazing that we even have something like this. And here you see a much more traditional, on the right, a much more traditional chimney. And that plays out, if you look at the floor plan here, you can see that on the lower left in the first floor plan, you can see some heavy work. Maybe I can highlight it. You see the barbecue here. Well, when you look at the current house, this is where the chimney is and the little shoulder that's emerging from the wall. And that's where this indoor barbecue is. So things got shifted around. And if I remember, the kitchen isn't in this area now. The kitchen was built back in this space, and this is kind of a den now. So things changed at some point. And again, it doesn't really matter because we're designating the house as it is today. It doesn't look like any of the changes from this drawing were made by subsequent owners. It looks like what we're looking at today is pretty much what was built. There are a couple of things that I'll point out in a minute that suggest some changes more recent than that. But here's the garage, and it's interesting that Colcord did not highlight the walls in the dark new wall, what's it called, the visual lexicon that architects use. He uses the open wall, suggesting without writing that this was an existing structure, but we know it was. But then he did build this long breezeway that has this angle because the garage was built at an angle, and we saw from some of those other examples that Colcord kind of liked playing with angles, and so this obviously is something he chose to do here instead of just connecting it straight over. And then here's a little sketch of the garden pavilion, which still today looks very close to what was designed here. So in terms of the alterations that we noticed when we visited that lead to some of the conditions that we're recommending, and I apologize, I created this aerial slide. I found an aerial from 1960 that showed the pre-house aerial that shows the garage. A little murky, but you see the garage there, and you see a white area that looks like it's probably the badminton court because it seems like a white rectangular area without vegetation. And I forgot to put that in the slide, or a slideshow. But anyways, in terms of alterations, this is what today is the den, and obviously some window changes were made here. This is the den on the original drawings, which isn't exactly built out the way it was. So we're not ever going to suggest that something be changed to reflect this drawing. But we do think these slider windows with internal grids aren't appropriate. And putting new windows here as a Mills Act condition would be something that we would recommend. At the same time, we have this patio cover here, which is clearly not original, but useful and not offensive in any way, and we have many houses that have similar changes made over the years that are on the Mills Act and the register that we don't ask for that, especially when we don't know what was there. The drawings show a screen porch here, but we'd be speculating if we asked for any change to that feature. The garage area has a change that is kind of interesting, and you only notice it if you look at the Google Street View photos from a few years ago. But this gate was changed a couple of years ago and looks good, and especially now in the staff report I wrote that it hadn't been painted because when I was there it hadn't been, but it has been painted since if you visited. Its shape is different than what was originally there, but it maintains some curves and seems to fit overall the character. The garage door ordinarily we'd look at this and say it's plain, it's inoffensive, it's not not a horrible door, until and then some windows at the garage have also been altered with internal grid new windows. But when we see what was at the garage before, I'm like, this is the door that wants to be there, with the same drop or Dutch drop siding, this funny little window with these funny little shutters. So we're making the recommendation that we have a Mills condition to bring this back. And you can see here also the original gate, which had these curves on it. It was a lower gate. I'm sure the owner would share with you why they chose to have a higher gate. I'm not necessarily saying that we should have a condition to recommend this, at least on the staff recommendation, but the commission should take that into consideration at least when you're thinking about this. And then finally, we have this ironwork that's kind of around the side of the house. This is not really visible from most parts of the property. There's a piece of ironwork here that clearly isn't original. It's not a hugely offensive thing. It could easily be removed. I'm not sure if the owner cares one way or the other about having it there. There may be a reason for it. I'm not sure when it was installed, so we just are noting it without a recommendation one way or the other. So, based on the fact that this is a very interesting late example of colonial revival, particularly so because it's the work of Colcord, who's a very notable Southern California architect, and that it has high integrity, we think it meets criterion 3 for designation, and recommend that the commission recommend that council listed in the register, and also recommend that council authorize a Mills contract. And we're recommending 3 conditions, which I kind of just went over: replacing the windows at the den with hung windows. I kind of left the idea of using true or simulated divided light windows there, specifically because we don't know exactly what was there. So simulated divided lights might actually be in the Secretary's standards differentiation thinking, an appropriate way to kind of make those jump out as something that's different. And the opening sizes look like 6/6 would be the appropriate configuration. If you know, it could be something else though. At the garage, we're recommending all the non-original windows be replaced. I think some of the windows there have different sizes. So 6/6, I left a little wiggle room in case we look at a window that looks like maybe a 4/4 might be better, something like that. I also took away the simulated divided light because we know there were divided light wood windows there before, so it seemed appropriate to go in that direction, where that would be considered a restoration of something that we know was there. And then finally, replacing the garage door with a new wood door to closely match the appearance of the original door. A difference that we've entertained on many other properties is that original door was probably a hinged lift-up door. Most people today want to have a roll-up door with the seams and roll up on a track. I'm sure a door manufacturer could figure out a way to make that happen in a way that looks close to what was there. So leaving that open for your consideration, and that is the end of our presentation.
All right, wonderful. Thank you so much. I don't have any speaker cards. Did you want to, are you the?
I forgot, yes. You can speak now, and then we'll fill out a speaker card before you leave.
Would you like to say a few words? If you could come up and introduce yourself.
Hi, my name is Susan Sakbawi.
Speak into the microphone, please.
And I'm the owner of the house.
Hey.
My husband Mark is at work. This is my daughter Zina. She's here. She's also equally in love with the house as much as we are. I don't know what I'm expected to say, but as I spoke to Alan on Saturday, when we actually walked into the house when we wanted to see it, there was an open house going on. We had no idea it was designed by Gerard Colcord, and we fell in love with the house, with the layout. It's just not a box like we discussed, Alan and I, on Saturday. It just had so many different seating areas, and the layout was very interesting and not boring. and everyone was complaining about how small the house was, and we just saw so much potential. And when we grabbed the flyer and we left and looked at the history of the house, we were just shocked that, you know, this is a Gerard Colcord house and no one seems to be talking about it. So it was kind of interesting for us to like come across this kind of house by accident. And we just wanted to grab it and to restore it and to just maintain the looks of it and bring it back to original as much as possible. The agent that was listing the house had some flyers, a magazine, I think. The house was like featured on the cover of a magazine, and the gate looked the same, but the house had shutters, and it kind of like, you know, had a different color. So we wanted to bring it back to the color that it originally was, which is white. Normally colonial houses are white, and to just kind of put back shutters. And we did not make much changes on the inside. Every room looked different, which we loved. So we kept the style of the house as is. And I think we're very lucky to have the house. And whatever the decision might be, and I think we're very lucky to have this home. And that's it. I don't know if I'm expected to say anything else.
Oh, that's
Am
great.
I?
That's
Okay.
perfect.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Okay, great. So let's see here. So I guess we don't have any other public comments?
No
Nobody calling?
callers.
Okay, I'm going to close the public comment period. Hold on a minute.
Could we ask questions?
Yes.
again,
Oh, yes. I guess we'll ask those questions now. So why don't you go ahead? Commissioner Durham has a question for you. If you could come back up to the microphone.
Suzanne, you know, what Jay referred to is currently the den with the replacement windows, to me looked like originally it had been maybe a screened porch or some kind of porch, because it has a brick floor. Is
Yeah.
that correct?
Yeah.
And do you know, did the previous owners enclose that as a room, or did you and Mark?
I'm assuming they did, because I think there are some pictures on Zillow that show the room being enclosed. This is how we bought it. The room was enclosed.
Yes.
We love that. 'Cause it
No,
was-
I only asked because I was trying to get a little more background on that, if you had enclosed
We
it,
did
but
not
if you bought
enclose-
it that way,
did not
that's fine.
enclose the room. And I also wanted to add that metal feature that was in the back. We took it down.
Yeah, it's
It's
already gone.
Looks so much better without it. I don't know why we had it for so long. I know it did not fit the style of the house, and it just served no purpose. Yeah, that's gone. So, yeah, the room was enclosed. The door, honestly, we did change the windows, but the existing windows that were there, the room was completely enclosed with a door and windows. So the windows were termite infested, so we changed them. I agree with all of you. I think double hung windows would look so much better.
But were they true, the ones that were, when you bought the house and were termite ridden and couldn't be saved, were they true divided light windows? Meaning if you know what divided light
I
windows are.
don't know what that is.
Just one piece of glass, like thin glass.
Oh, honestly, I don't
You know,
remember.
the divisions are actually wood strips rather than the vinyl. Right now, there's vinyl strips imitating divided
Yeah,
light.
I
Well,
honestly don't
divided light
remember.
windows are what's on the rest of your house.
Okay.
Except the garage,
Okay.
you know, where you actually see the dimensions of the wood framing the glass panes.
I could look at the pictures that we have. I don't remember. Honestly, I don't remember what kind of windows they were. I just know we changed them, but we did not put wood windows like we should have.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Were they like, did they look like the other windows on the house? Multiple, a grid of wood frame windows? Obviously, if they had termites,
You
they're
know what?
wood.
Now I remember. No, they did not have a grid.
Okay.
They were just plain windows.
Oh, like one piece?
I think each window had like two pieces. One that was, I think just one part of the window moved. And I
Okay.
think it was sideways, but I can double check.
Okay,
that-
wait a minute. So, and my other question for you is, did you put the new gate
Yes.
in? And why is the gate tall? Why did you do a taller gate?
Okay, the gate also was falling apart, but the gate was so short. So anyone could just you know, easily hop over the gate. It was not, I know the one that we have now, we couldn't go any higher, and we didn't want to go much higher, but it's kind of a safety concern for us, was to just go a little bit higher, so that, I mean, people can still just hop over, but it's not like that original one is this short, and, you know, you could, there was no privacy, and it was also like not safe, so.
Okay.
That was the only reason we changed. Then we painted it white to match
Yeah, I
the
saw
rest of the
that.
house, so looks like the same color Alan saw.
And by the way,
That's right.
I apologize, I wasn't able to go this weekend, I was out of town. So, but I did go and look at the house. I think I was there yesterday.
Okay.
So I was able to walk around, I mean, you know, from the street. I didn't jump the high gate or anything. So, and.
That was useful, huh?
Yeah, yeah, it was very,
Having
it was
the
very
high gate
useful.
work.
Oh, so here's the windows that we found the windows that were here before.
Yes, see, they didn't have, yeah.
So they were picture windows.
For the public record, they were single light sliders.
Yeah, okay,
So-
great. Commissioner Durham, did you have another question for her?
No, I was just going to comment that they sounded like sliders.
Okay, Commissioner Bartanian?
The roof, did you redo the roof? I didn't look at the pictures, but the roof is, do you know how old the roof is?
We did not, we were told by the agent that the roof was, I think, changed 10 years ago. But it looked like, exactly like the old roof, so they kept the same style roof.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, all right.
That's it.
Any other questions for the homeowner while she's up here? Anything? Okay, great, thank you so much. Okay, all right, I'm going to close public comment, and I guess we will have a discussion among ourselves about this. I have one question, Jay, and Ani, maybe you know. It looks like there's a lot of information in here about the history of the house. But were there no building permits for the 1948 rumpus room that was there before? Nothing at all? Do we know who built that or who that property owner was? Nothing?
No, we don't have any building permits for it. We just have the assessor's record from 1949, which doesn't have an owner's name on it. We'd have to go to the county archive to figure that out, but
Yeah.
we haven't done
I
that.
was just curious, like, I think it's kind of fascinating that somebody owned that property and just built it for leisure, basically, right?
I assume it's someone who lived in the neighborhood, because who else? But I don't know. When we first visited, and I may have startled Suzanne and her husband, because I thought that someone had re-sided the whole house, because I'm looking at this beautiful wood siding on the garage, and then I'm looking at the house, and I'm like, I bet this is a disconnect, and I didn't understand the time lag. So that's not an issue, don't worry.
Right.
But
Right. Yeah, I just thought it was it's an interesting circumstance that maybe we don't know, but Jay, I'm sorry, did you say that that the original owner's name is there somewhere on 48, or that we would have to
no,
go?
we don't know the
Thing.
owner. We know nothing except that it was built, it was acknowledged, someone was paying taxes on it.
Uh-huh.
So,
Was that common in Glendale to have just lots like this that were just leisure lots with,
I wish.
I mean, back
What a
then?
cool city. I've never seen it before, but
I think that, I mean, it reminds me a little bit of Onondarka in the sense that was built kind of, I mean, from what I remember about it, that was built kind of for fun, and there was definitely a leisure part of it and outdoor living. I just think it's fascinating. I mean, it's obviously, for what's in front of us here, I mean, this house speaks for itself regardless of that, but.
up through Chevy Chase, or up through, well, in the canyons, Verdugo Canyon, and up in North Glendale, there are stories and possible realities of hunting cabins and cottages that we hear about and that we never have proven, that I've heard. But so that, I guess there is some history of that, but that's, I think, earlier than the 40s. So
Yeah. Okay. Great. Commissioner Bartini?
Jay, does this architect have another house in Glendale?
not that we know of. it's possible.
No,
Do you guys
there-
know?
Yeah, actually,
Okay.
I was going to say, I'm glad to see another Cold Cord house in Glendale.
Where's the other?
The one on Chevy Chase.
Uh-huh. Tell me more.
I thought it was on the registry, actually.
It's possible. I don't know
Yeah,
every
yeah, it's
architect on the registry. Which house? Hopefully, it's not one that was designated since I've been here.
It's on the opposite, it's on the east side of Chevy Chase on the way up to the Derby house. It's it's on Chevy Chase. But anyway, it's a nice house as well, and I'm glad that there's at least two that we know of in Glendale.
If you can track that down, I'd love to know which one. So
I see it now. It's that was a 1940s house. Is that a 1940s house?
Yeah, I think it was late 40s.
It's called
Yes.
the Winsome.
My younger
1940
daughter
farmhouse.
is internet savvy, so she did some research on Colcord houses in Glendale, and I think she thought that she read somewhere, and I'm not sure what she found is true, that Colcord built this house in Chevy Chase for his sister. So that might be,
Yeah, that
Yeah.
sounds right to me, too.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
reading it now. Yeah.
what's the
It's called
address?
the Winsome 1940s farmhouse.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Do you have an
Interesting.
address, Kevin?
I don't see the address.
It's painted blue.
Blue.
Do we know the address?
I don't see it on this.
You don't regulate
Kirk
color,
report.
so what can you do?
Interesting. Well, there's two Cold Cord houses in
It's a
Glendale.
three-bedroom house. Yeah.
Fantastic.
There are three.
So, and I do like,
I don't trust real estate people writing stuff, so let's be careful.
Which one is the third one? Sorry.
Ani just found something.
Oh, I see. I'm like, I missed the third one.
you're finding a third one? Do I hear a fourth? Do I hear a fourth?
I've always thought you could be a good auctioneer.
Yeah, okay. If we find 4 or 5, then your house is nothing special anymore.
Right, yeah.
You can leave.
Get out of here.
Yeah. So, no, but that's really, I mean, and I really, while you're looking, I want to say I really enjoyed the staff presentation, talking about Cold Cord's sort of ability, this whole Southern California cultural tradition of being eclectic with styles that started elsewhere and bringing them here and just playing with them a little bit more. And especially if he's been working with people in the entertainment industry, sort of that idea of taking a little imaginative license with playing with the colonial revival style in different ways, or coming up with new combinations. And there's a whole tradition in California architecture of critics from the East Coast saying you're not doing it in the pure right way, or you're not following the Gothic revival just so, or whatever the case is. And I do like the fact that this to me seems like a very California version of taking colonial revival and playing with it in a new way, and having a little bit of that imagination. And the other thing I wanted to mention, I am with the gate. Your dormers at the top, don't they have diagonal siding on them too? Diagonal wood siding?
yes.
They do. So even in the gate as it is now, when I first saw the gate when I was there the other day, I wasn't sure if it was a new gate because I saw that the diagonal siding in the dormers, the gate had the same diagonal siding in the dormers, and I think I saw that diagonal siding somewhere else. I don't remember where, on it, maybe another gate or something like that. Okay.
So we do have more information about the other Colcord house. So it is 2310 East Chevy Chase Drive, but it is not on the Glendale register.
It's not.
So
Okay.
This will be the first.
Okay.
That's great.
Great.
I just want to make another comment about the age. This is 1965, and this is for a house to be considered from that time frame that isn't modern or postmodern is, I think, exceptional too. And I like this idea of having a house. Regardless of, well, actually specifically with this style, that's so late, and I think it kind of extends the the period of the registry houses, and I think that's a good thing.
Yeah, this will be our second post-war period revival style house. So
What is the first?
it's the Webb House on Cumberland Road, which is a Tudor revival. It was designated a number of years ago. That Rej Mardian had done some work on, the wonderful late Rej Mardian.
Do we, Jay, you mentioned earlier, I mean, what is the likelihood, I'm not really a garage door construction expert, but that door that was originally there is quite incredible with the window and the shutters and the way the siding lined up with this, the siding actually lined up with the other siding.
Perfectly, yeah.
Is there, from what you were saying, I mean, is there the option that a roll-up door could replicate that?
I believe anything can be built. Money may be a factor. But I think it could be done. The trick would be the siding, I don't think would be an issue because it's, with the wide gaps and the lap between the sections, it's a matter of just the spacing of each section. The window could be the tricky part. And the shutters on the frame and the shutters on top of the window in terms of the clearance as the door is opening, I don't think that's unsolvable. If you're concerned about that, you could craft a condition that would leave some flexibility once the owner identifies a door person and direct staff to work with that person to achieve as close a possible design, and then go from there, if that's where you're thinking of going.
I really like the window and the I love what was there before.
I think they're great, and one of the ways it could be done, I assume those boards are pretty thick the way they look. They could possibly be built thinner. It's going to be a custom job no matter what, so.
I mean, but even if it is not a roll-up door, I mean, if it's a single slab door, I mean, if you have a remote, nobody's gonna have to lift it.
Oh, no, it could be, and then going with a thinner wood would make it lighter, and,
Right.
yeah, so it could be a lift door, yeah.
Okay. Are there any other thoughts on the conditions that Jay has presented?
I think we need more direction for the windows at the den, because I agree, I agree with Mr. Durham, when I first walked in there and the brick floor, I was like, oh, this used to be an outdoor space. Now, I don't know, because when you look at the floor plan, where did it go? This was identified as a den with a screen porch up here and then a terrace off the den. This configuration of these doors, this little hallway is exactly the same. And it seems strange that this would be kind of a screen porch, or if there was a screen porch, but maybe that this idea got sent over here, but that's quite a loss of real estate on the first floor of the house. So I was, and then a brick floor might just be the rustic touch that, was, because there's a step down here also that you often have if you're leaving you want to waterproof the interior and you step down because the area's open to the elements to some degree. I kind of walked away from it leaving it as a mystery, assuming, because we rarely, the commission has never asked someone to reduce square footage or turn interior space into an exterior space. So the question now is just what's the right thing to do here? So I would need more direction from everyone on that.
Do we know, we don't have any building permits for when that was enclosed?
Well, we don't know that it was enclosed. It could have always been
It could have
enclosed
been
to
like
some
that from
degree.
1965.
Yeah, we've looked at every permit. All the permits are in your package. They came with the application. It's, as horrible as it is to say, people, even back in the old days, didn't always get permits. So I know.
Does it, sorry, to clarify, does it have a step down or does it not?
I believe it does. When you go into the den area, is there a little step from the hallway? Yeah, but it's a little bit lower. More than walking from one room to another, yeah.
Yeah.
So there's a little something there.
Go ahead. Did you? I'm wondering if the windows that you just replaced were wood, right? Termite, right? That's why you replaced them.
Well, I'm not sure. Okay, I'm gonna be honest.
Can you come up? Sorry.
The windows have termite. I know the wall.
The
There was so
wall.
much termite in the walls, and we fumigated the whole house. There was termite damage everywhere, but that room particularly had so much termite damage.
Okay.
So when we fumigated, and we ended up replacing the windows because there was so much damage in the walls. Do I remember? I don't remember if they were wood or not, to be honest with you. I don't know if you can tell from the
The
pictures.
photo.
The photo suggests no, not wood.
Not wood.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I don't know.
Yeah,
how we
interesting.
Bought the
Well,
house, so.
Okay, thank you. In the 60s, there were a lot of aluminum sliding windows, and, I mean, aluminum windows and metal windows were common in the mid-60s, and this is a mid-60s house.
I just can't imagine Gerard Colcord putting aluminum windows on the house, so
Yeah.
that just doesn't make sense. You know, if it was a screened porch, maybe there was beautiful bronze screens there, but again, that's kind of a weird thing to do with that real estate on a house that isn't actually that big square footage wise. So
And the current windows are wooden or vinyl?
I think they're vinyl, so, yeah.
Is there I didn't go, because I wasn't there, I didn't go in the backyard. I mean, would there have been a reason originally to have like non-divided light? No, because it looks like what was there originally was basically like a large picture window almost, or, you know, with no mullions or muntins in it whatsoever. I mean, is there a particular view out of that room, or is it just to the rest of the backyard? Okay.
It's a nice backyard, and you see the garden pavilion and all that.
I
Remember your husband was particularly fond of that room, if I remember? Or- Okay, that's,
I guess I'm just a little like hesitant to do, you had mentioned one of the standards about separate, like to differentiate, and I just don't know if differentiating from the we don't know what window was there originally, but I'm not so sure that, you know, if we have the opportunity to put in a window that's not vinyl, that could be wood, or even if it's a picture window or a wood mullion and muntin, I don't know if we have the option to replace that vinyl window with something that's wood frame. If we don't think that Colcord supported metal frame windows back in the 60s, in all likelihood, that was a wood frame window of some kind. It would be nice to have a wood frame window back in there.
well, one thought, and part of it is how does it scan? Like, how does it fit into the house? You could decide to not have any muntins or grid and just have double hung or single hung, it doesn't matter which, 1/1 windows, that when you scan, that's gonna have the proportions of the other wood windows, call attention to the fact that something different is happening here. What is happening differently? I don't know. When you're sitting in the room, it might be nice to have a more open visibility to the backyard without the grids. If you put the grids, we are kind of going out a bit on a limb. That's why I was ready to say with the simulated divided lights, that would just be clear that these are non-original windows, but they would scan with the rest of the windows on the facade to kind of just fit in. I don't think there's a right answer here, especially because we're so uncertain. I think you could go either of those two directions, I think would be fine. So you guys just have to figure it out amongst yourselves.
Ani, could you pull up the picture of the rear elevation with those windows?
I'll get it.
I just wanted to try to visualize the difference between, doing more grids or fewer.
Can I ask you a question?
Yes, please.
Can I ask the owner, what would your preference be in the back?
Honestly, probably to continue with the same design with the grids, because I feel like, because there are some windows with grids on the, not windows, just like panels with grids on the inside of the house. If you're walking in the hallway and you look to your right, there's like 2 panels with grids that look into that room. And so if we do no grids, then it's gonna probably look not, matching, but either way would work. I mean, if you prefer to do no grids, if you think that works better, and if it's more cohesive with the idea of having like a sunroom that overlooks the backyard with no intrusion, or it's more open, I'm open to that too. But I feel like the grids work, not necessarily these windows. I know they don't match, and I know they don't match the style of the house, but we're pretty open.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good question.
There is a long sill there. If you get 2 pairs of windows mulled together, they'll sit on top of the sill that's already there. If you look to the right, these doors, I believe, have external grids already. Suzanne, I think those are external grids. Again, when you're in the room, you've got the 2 internal doors with grids, you've got these 2 doors with grids, and these are not original, but they didn't, jump out at me as a Mills Act issue. So I think the question is, and you can almost visualize from this, you have these 4/4 windows here, you've got 6/6 windows here. If you visualize just the existing grid pattern here, it's going to be this 4/4 is reminiscent of the 4/4s above because they're somewhat smaller than these larger openings. So if you said new wood hung windows, single or double with a 4/4, and then you can decide whether you want to have true lights or simulated lights. And my guess is these doors probably have double pane glass because they're fairly new looking. So maybe this room gets insulated more than the rest of the house, and because of its brick floor, which probably lets more cold in, but whatever.
Yeah. Commissioner Durham, did you have a question or a thought?
I'm actually in favor of a condition for true divided light windows. I think 4/4, given the smaller windows above, would be very much in keeping with the rest of the style. And the owner did invite me in on my visit, and I know that we don't take interior details into consideration for designation or the Mills Act, but I think she does have a very good point. If you've been inside, I think the den's very open to the hallway that leads to the living room, and you see the backyard through there. It's very open when you're looking into the den, and I think it does set up a bit of dissonance inside that you're on your way from the dining room to the living room, and the windows in the den don't match and don't look consistent. So I think the owner had a very good point.
And I agree with Commissioner Durham. I mean, the idea of doing a 4/4 wood window. And I mean, the way I see it also is, I understand with the Secretary of the Interior standards, this idea of differentiation. But I could also imagine, like, over time, whoever owned this before, even now, if they wanted to if a window broke or something and they wanted to replace the window, they would get the same window as before. Or I think what Commissioner Durham mentioned and I don't know if you support it or not, but it seems like a logical solution because there's other is it a divided light? Is that right? The right 4/4 windows elsewhere, wood frame, and I think that could be a good solution. Any other thoughts on that?
The 4/4 window is the one on top, right? The side ones are 6/6. Is that what it's called?
Yeah.
Doesn't the 6/6 work better there, with the bottom kind of matching?
I think those are.
And generally, you sort of, the number of lights depends on the size and shape of the window usually.
I see.
And it's kind of, these windows at the second floor up here look a little bit smaller than these if we
Yeah.
look at them 1, 2, 3, 4. These are definitely taller. These do look a little smaller than these second floor 6/6. So what you don't want, you want to, the goal is to keep the pane individual pieces of glass similar, but they're never going to be the same because you're playing with geometry and whatever else. So my gut says 4/4 is better, but if it was 6/6, I don't think anyone would ever freak out, so.
Okay.
I think the 6/6 windows are a little, I mean, maybe I'm not looking at the picture, but they look a little bit wider? Like, are those bays a little wider than the
They
ones that are highlighted?
seem to be, yeah.
Just
They're looking at
maybe
it.
6 inches wider each or something. Okay.
I like the 4/4 wood.
That's kind of what's there now. I mean, the grid there now is like eight light, you know, so it would be, a 4/4 would kind of echo that.
So jumping over to the garage, are we agreeing similarly to have true divided lights at the garage, but giving the flexibility for the number of lights based, because I didn't jot down the difference of sizes between the different windows at the garage.
Can we see the garage picture,
Yeah, but
please?
I don't think we have pictures of all of the windows, so.
The old,
One,
the old garage
two,
that was there before.
3, well, I don't think we have good shots of that.
It's a double hung window.
Yeah, and this might not even have grids, but
Those look like just 1/1 double hung windows, right?
it seems to be. That's interesting, yeah, save some money if you guys go there.
The front window has grids.
Can you, wait, Commissioner Bartanian?
Yeah, the front window has grids, obviously, right?
Yes. So that's
That's
4.
That's a fixed window, I'm pretty sure.
But it looks like the side windows are just 1/1 double
Yeah.
hung.
Yeah.
Yeah, my mistake, I didn't catch that, and it looks like there are a couple of doors here.
Mhm.
And then I don't know what's going on around the back, we do have a shot of that somewhere. But where? Sorry. So we have some wider windows here.
Mhm.
Yeah, so if you feel that 1/1's appropriate at the garage, just new wood 1/1 windows. At a garage, whether it's single or double pane usually isn't a huge issue thermally.
Is what's there, is what's there now vinyl? Okay.
Yeah, with internal grids. The chance it's fiberglass, I don't remember if I touched them.
So I would support a wood frame 1/1, just like what was there before. Double hung window. On the back, I think there could be a little more liberty. Those look like wider window bays, and I'm wondering, because they face out to other multi-light windows, I'm wondering if those might have been originally multi-light windows of some kind as opposed to just 1/1.
They didn't face out to anything when it was built.
And that's
Yeah.
true. Commissioner Durham?
Yeah, the back of the garage is really an integral part of the backyard. Because the wonderful thing about this house is the way Colcord built the breezeway to wrap around the other street side and connect to the garage. And it gives you this sense of privacy and enclosure in the backyard. And I think that because of all the 6/6 or 4/4 true divided light wood windows in the rest of the house, that at least these at the back, and that's currently used as an office. It was a workshop, but that's not the garage itself. That's an office now, according to the owner. That I would prefer to see at least the windows in the back of the garage here to be divided light windows to more appropriately match, because when you're back there, it just looks like a continual, I don't know if you were able to go in the backyard?
I was able to look over and see the windows in the backyard, and obviously from these photographs, everything there is divided light windows all over the place. I can't imagine, it seems like if we kept something like that now, it would make sense, just in wood.
Yes, because the breezeway, is a connection between the house and the garage, and it really forms this continuous structure with the pavilion as well, surrounding the backyard. So I think, it would be more cohesive, at least at the back of the garage
If
office.
I may jump in, just with the sad logic of the preservation mind, if we were taking that argument, then we should reside the house to look like the garage too. I think part of the story of the house is that the garage is different than the house. And I'm sorry that I hadn't really paid attention, but these do definitely look like 1/1 wood windows. And this photo is from January 2021, but they easily could be 1949 original wood windows. It seems extremely unlikely that someone would put divided light windows on the back of a building. Usually, we do have lots of examples where you have divided lights on the front of a house, and then you dumb it down because it's cheaper, so the sides and the back have single light windows where the front has multi-lights. I just can't imagine why this would have been built with multi-lights at the back, and so it's kind of a tail wagging the dog situation to let the design of the house that was built 24 years later, 25 years later, tell us what windows to put on the back. But you guys talk that through. That's my professional staff opinion, but Ani
Well-
has some ideas here.
But there is a divided light the front of the garage has divided lights.
Ani's finding some very excellent real estate photos that show speed line windows, 2/2 speed line windows, but are they at every opening?
It's all the same all around.
Okay, and could they, oh, you know something? These windows that we see in the
2/2?
lowered position, these are 2/2
Okay.
windows. Okay.
And those were probably then what was on the back of the house.
Yeah.
Because that also makes sense for what's on the garage. That's basically, it's not a 2/2, but it's a 4-light. So probably 2/2s.
Yeah, that's the back. If you could show the commissioners that's great. If, don't just walk it in front. For the record, Ani is showing the commissioners a
You're
real
allowed to
estate
leave your
photo that shows 2/2 windows at the garage with horizontal muntins at each light, at each sash.
Is this the back or the front?
This is the back elevation, this is the side, but if we look at it on Google Street View of the older Street View, it's that same window on the photo that Jay has up.
So,
It's all consistent all throughout.
but this, what window is this here?
That one is the north elevation.
Oh,
which I
north.
don't think we have, because it's on the property.
Where's that door? The door that's
Oh,
open?
this one is into the rear yard.
The what?
It's into the rear yard, so it's like behind the gate, I believe.
Breezeway.
So, yeah, behind the breezeway.
Okay, I see. Oh, I see, got it.
Because there's another door.
Every
that
single
leads-
window was 2/2, horizontal muntins, wood. Staff now recommends that be
That's what-
the
that's-
replacement.
I would agree with that recommendation. If we have the evidence, 2/2, how does that sound to you?
Yeah.
Okay,
Thank you, Ani.
all right. So let's see here. So we're resolving the garage. My opinion about I think I would like to see, I just kind of doubt that what we see here could be replicated in a rolling door because of the situation with the window and the shutters.
I agree. I only brought that up because everyone wants rolling doors these days. If you say to have a hinged lift door, that's fine.
And I think I would have a condition that there is a hinged lift door. It could be made out of a lightweight wood. And the other condition for the garage door, just as we see here, I would like to see the pattern, the tongue and groove, or whatever that horizontal pattern is, to run flush with the rest of the house, like we see here, that it's not jogged that whatever garage door is done, that the horizontal line work runs flush to the rest of the.
You mean aligned?
Aligned, yes. Because that cladding is still there on the garage today, right? Okay. That sort of, to me, that's a really important detail, that it's aligned and not just,
But we'll take care of that, yeah.
okay. Any other thoughts? Okay.
Okay,
Yes,
and
Commissioner
just to
Cusick.
confirm, everyone's okay with the driveway gate that's there?
I was just about to say that. I'm okay with the driveway gate.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yes, I am too.
I am too.
Okay, I think I have a consensus of 4/4 true divided light windows at the den, 2 pairs of those. At the garage workshop office, all windows will be 2/2 wood, single light with horizontal muntins.
I'm sorry, except for the front, except for in the garage door itself.
Well, we're going to talk about the garage door separately because the garage door is going to be a new hinged lift door replicating all the details that we see in the photograph, including the window and the shutters. And I'm assuming that's a fixed window. You wouldn't normally put an operable window on a garage door, except for my garage door at home, which has one, but that's a special case, so. I know, totally. I try to keep it locked when I open the door. There,
Right.
so.
I think that's it, yeah. That's it for the conditions. Commissioner Durham?
Since we talked about the gate, we should all probably express our opinion on the covered porch next to the den. I have no problem with it. I noticed when I was there with the owner that certain details from the garden pavilion, like the rafter tails, have been copied on that outdoor porch that's been added. And so I thought it integrated very well with the house and the rest of the property. So I have no problem with that.
Commissioner Cusack?
Yeah, from what I saw, I also have no problem with it.
I wasn't there. I remember, I looked over into the backyard, and everything looked completely compatible to me. I honestly would not have known. We had an issue, we had an agenda item last month for another house where there was some back and forth about some later edition doors, which were obviously of a totally different style, and they were trying to argue that they were compatible, and I don't think a lot of us really thought that they were. But in this case, it seems very compatible, and I have no issue with it whatsoever. Commissioner Bartanian?
Yeah, same. Then looking on the online pictures for Zillow, it's consistent. I think that it was always enclosed, and that's my opinion. Because there's a lot of brick inside anyway, so.
Okay.
Commissioner Head, any thoughts?
No issue.
Any motions?
Okay. I think I need someone else to make a motion. I'm not allowed to make one as a chair. Just kidding.
Hold on to the gavel, please.
Do I have a motion is there a motion to support this nomination with the conditions that has been?
I'll give this a try. Yes, I'd like to make a motion to move this application forward for approval for Mills Act and Glendale Registry.
To recommend that city, to recommend to city
Recommend.
council to place the property on the Glendale Register and authorize a Mills Act contract
Yes,
with the conditions as discussed,
yes.
something like that. Okay. That's fair, we've done that before, so.
I second that motion.
The way, just so you know, and you guys didn't even notice our fresh staff report format. There's a recommended action by the Historic Preservation Commission on the first page. If you want to read that, you don't have to read the staff suggests part, but you could say, I make a motion that the Historic Preservation Commission recommend to the City Council. It's a little wordier, but it also puts out that we're recommending that it be called the Brown House after the first owners, because it appears to be eligible under criterion 3. If you want to be super official, this makes it easy for you to always have in front of you a way to make the motion. We've been more and less formal over the years doing this, but it's there for you if you want it, so. Yeah.
So it looks like Commissioner Head made a motion and Commissioner Bartanian seconded it.
Okay, thank you.
We're ready for a vote.
All right, Commissioner Cusack,
Yes.
Commissioner Durham,
Yes.
Commissioner Bartanian,
Yes.
Commissioner Head,
Yes.
Chair Paul.
Yes.
It's unanimous.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Okay.
Such a beautiful house.
Yeah, very special.
See you on October 12th. Okay.
And I wanted to add that the neighbors that we met, one of the neighbors who's really old, lives on our side street on Puebla, she said that the Browns commissioned the architect in 1960, I think, to build the house for them that emulated exactly one of the houses they saw on the East Coast. One of his houses that they liked. So I don't know how many changes they made because I told Jay and Ani, I remember I have some of the drawings. I don't have all of them, but yeah, they liked the house of his on the East Coast and wanted to have the exact same one in Glendale. So
Wonderful.
thought that was
Interesting.
worth mentioning.
Thank you for preserving the house.
Thank you so much for your time and
It's-
for
it's
giving
always-
us the nomination. I appreciate it.
It's always wonderful when you have an owner who really like gets it and cares, and it's just fantastic.
Doesn't turn it into a modern house with flat windows.
Yeah, yeah.
Thank you so much. Thank
Apple
you.
Store. Okay, thank you. All right. So we are finished with agenda item 7. Oh, go ahead, Commissioner Durham.
I just wanted to add that congratulations, and again, it's great to see an owner who really loves the history and the architecture of the home and really appreciates its heritage and contribution to the city. I just wanted to mention for anybody out there who might be more interested in Gerard Colcord's work, Brett Parsons wrote a book. It was published, I think, in 2012 called Colcord Home. It's still available, and it has really nice floor plans and color pictures of a big sampling of his work in Los Angeles, the Los Angeles
That's
area.
Angel City Press, right?
Angel City Press, yes. So
We have a copy.
Oh, you have a copy? Okay. Is your house in it?
unfortunately, no. But there's some great examples.
One of the smaller ones. I think they had much bigger, more lavish homes in the book, but all over LA that they are.
Because I know there are quite a few, when you go through Coldwater Canyon, because I used to take that route to work in Westwood, and you get down into Beverly Hills, you know, I noticed these houses, it would be his farmhouse colonial. They'd be, you know, stone facades partially and dormer windows and irregular massing. And those always just jumped out at me, and I'm like, who built these? And I finally found out it was
It
Colcord.
was all him, huh?
Yes, but they're
Interesting.
wonderful examples, particularly on the west side, Beverly Hills and other areas. Thank you.
And I mean, just as an aside, I mean, I'm curious to know how many people were doing that kind of colonial revival in the mid-'60s. Probably not that many.
It was totally uncool.
Yeah, it's so great.
Yeah.
It's good to go against the taste cycle. So, okay, wonderful. Anything else on agenda item 7? Okay, we're going to close it. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Oh, could you just, before you leave, and you're welcome to leave if you like, but you can stay if you, there's a blue slip on the table there. You could just fill out, it's called a speaker card, just put your name and your information and the address, and just leave it on the table. We'll come get it after the meeting. Thank you.
Just for our record that you spoke. Okay. You're done.
Dismissed.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay, thank you.
See you in October. All of you? In
No,
October or?
no.
None of us.
Totally different crew.
Oh, no.
City council.
City council.
They're not
No,
as fun as we
no
are.
familiar faces.
Well, we'll call you,
kinda got
we'll
used
explain
to
it. Yeah, we'll be there.
Thank you so much.
Bye.
Have a
Thank
good
you.
night.
Okay, agenda item 8, Community Development Department updates. Sub-item A, update regarding AB 130 CEQA and historic resources.
Okay, and so some or all of you may know some or a lot about this subject. but I thought this was a good time to share with you, just to bring everyone up to speed, because the city just sent out the press release that I just handed around. I should have emailed it to you, but I didn't think, so you can read it later if you haven't seen. And did you? I don't know. Do those go out to board members as part of this? They
never seen
should.
this
It's
before.
you know I'm surprised. So we'll see if we can mention that to someone, because I would think you'd be on the city mailing list. So basically, as part of the multi-year effort by the state legislature, both the Assembly and the Senate, to help speed new housing development, a bill called Assembly Bill 130 was passed and signed by Governor Newsom as an emergency. I can't remember exactly what it's called, but it went into effect the day it was signed. And this is going to have dramatic impacts on historic resources throughout the state. It will have dramatic impacts, not good, on historic resources in Glendale. So I just want to share with you what it means and basically let you know that unless something drastic changes, which I don't expect anytime soon, we're going to say goodbye to properties that have been identified through survey but are not designated when they're in areas that are zoned for multifamily use and are proposed for multifamily construction. So this won't affect, so I don't want to be too alarmist, this won't affect our single-family neighborhoods. Right now, it won't affect any of our historic districts because all of our districts are in single-family neighborhoods. But it will impact a lot of the properties that have been surveyed under the South Glendale survey. It will also affect properties that are currently being surveyed in East and West Glendale and ultimately in North Glendale. So I put together kind of a quick cheat sheet just to quickly give you guys the parameters of what this means. So basically, it weakens the protections that we've had for many years under the California Environmental Quality Act, CEQA, which has always included cultural resources as part of the environmental considerations that are made when government is reviewing a project. And a project is any undertaking that requires what's called a discretionary permit, which is a permit that requires any decision-making on the part of city government at any level. So for historic resources, that decision-making is it historic? Is it not historic? If it's never been surveyed, we can still look at it and say, well, we think it's historic, and ask the property owner to do a historic report so that we then have some objective way of looking at it before we move forward with giving a permit that would lead to the demolition of a property that was potentially historic. What AB 130 does is make certain projects, so this is not, again, totally alarmist, but it makes certain projects statutorily exempt. Did I spell that wrong? Statutorily, I think. I'm on not a bullet point. I think I misspelled statutorily.
Oh, yeah, that's okay.
It makes certain projects statutorily exempt from CEQA if all of these bullet points are met. And we'll get to the historic one at the end. But basically, it limits, so that means there's no environmental review, including no historic review, for projects that are less than 20 acres, which is going to be pretty much every project that comes our way in Glendale. At least 2/3 of the project's total square footage, the site's square footage, is dedicated to residential use. There aren't a lot of developers who are going to be leaving a lot of open space on their sites, so most projects are going to fulfill that bullet point. The project site has previously been developed with an urban use, and there's a longer definition of what that means, but in a built-out city like Glendale, most all of our lots, especially in the flatland areas, but even a lot of our hillside lots, are considered urban use areas. The fourth bullet point is that the project is consistent with the general plan of the city and the zoning ordinance. Most projects are going to be consistent with that. There's a provision for the builder's remedy, which is something that doesn't really affect Glendale. That's for cities that don't actually comply with various housing rules and ordinances. Glendale's been good about that, so we're not a builder's remedy city. We're trying really hard to make our housing element comply with state law. Some cities have not done that, so if the builder's remedy is if the city doesn't conform with state law, any project can be approved. The builder gets to do whatever they want. So it's in the city's interest to make sure that we're up to date and keeping everything kosher with that, and so far we're good. The fifth bullet point, it looks like, the project meets at least 50% of the underlying density. So by way of understanding what that means, and I'll show you an example here, the house on the bottom is 1642 South Central, which is a case that came to HPC a few years ago and then went to City Council on appeal. We had found that this was a historic property. The property owner appealed it to council. We had said, staff had said, or the planning division had said, this required an environmental impact report under CEQA. Council agreed and told the owner they needed to do an environmental impact report. The owner proceeded to prepare a report. The report came back and said that it was historic. The city council at that point then overrode that decision and said that the 16-unit apartment building that was proposed was in the city's interest, and therefore they allowed the demolition of this house, which still stands. It hasn't been demolished yet. But that's the way the process used to work under CEQA. But just so you understand the numbers, most lots in the flatlands of Glendale are 50 feet wide by 150 feet deep, which is 7,500 square feet. So in our least dense zoning areas, which is the R1250 zone, what the numbers mean in the density zones, 1250 means the number of, you divide the total lot size by 1250, and that tells you how many units can be built. So 7,500 square foot lot divided by 1250 is 6 units. So you can build a 6-unit building on a standard single-family lot in the city. So what this rule means is you have to build at least 3 units to qualify under this AB 130. I don't know that we've ever seen someone who has the opportunity to build 6 units, build 3 units. So it's kind of a moot point. On larger projects, on larger sites, you know, the numbers may play out differently, but it's unlikely that anyone's going to be developing even close to just 50% of the density. There's a recognition that there are some environmental conditions, such as riparian environments, ridge lines, a few other things that kind of trump this to some degree. So you can't develop on those, or you're not allowed to use this CEQA exemption in those cases. But the one that comes to us and the things we focus on that I'll read directly is the project is exempt from CEQA if the project does not require the demolition of a historic resource that was placed on a national, state, or local historic register before submission of preliminary development application. So what that means is we have 150 properties on the Glendale Register. Most properties that are on the National Register or California Register are kind of on the Glendale Register. There's a few handsful of properties that have higher level of designation. But unless somehow a property gets designated before a preliminary application comes in, CEQA's gone. So this is the will of the state at this point in history, and we're going to see a lot of development over time that's going to break our hearts, and we won't be able to do much about it, and we won't be able to do anything about it. And so this is this is my downer update for the evening. I imagine most of you have heard a little bit about this. It's gotten a lot of press attention. I'm not an expert. If you have questions, I'll try to help, but I'm not the the best person for that.
Just to be clear, a historic structure, as mentioned, or a historical resource, as you read in the last bullet point, that would include a district contributor, not individually listed. It could be that would protect district contributors, right?
In other cities, yes, but not for us because we don't have any districts that are outside of single-family zones. If we had a commercial district, sure, it would also, but that's not an issue for us. This isn't going to apply in single-family zones. It's only in multifamily zones.
But will it apply in the single-family zones that end up getting rezoned by SB 79?
It could, I guess. I'm not sure how that's going to play out, so.
Jay, I have a couple of questions about this, about these two properties.
One of which is the Garden Homes up
Yeah,
the picture.
the Glendale Garden Homes. So there's no stopping that. It sounds like that's going to get demolished.
Yeah, that's, I think, going to, now I can't remember. It's going to DRB either next week for a second round of design review. So,
Yeah, that's really unfortunate. And, this has been, I think, almost 20 years that that preservationists have been trying to save the Glendale Garden Homes.
no, and I think, except for the tree situation, which people were very upset about, and we can talk about that in great detail, and I'm okay with what happened there, but we and council came to the conclusion that this project required an EIR. The timing was just fell into their laps, and the timing worked out perfectly, and the law went into effect the day the bill was signed, so there was no pipeline or anything else like that.
Yeah, part of what is upsetting about this is the demolition of existing properties to build new properties, larger, higher density properties. But there hasn't been any discussion about relocating the properties because there's still, Glendale Garden Homes are homes to people who live there. And it just seems like if there were true, I mean, I want to be watchful of my words. It just seems wasteful to demolish the property and not make any sort of consideration for relocating the property because there's still there's still homes.
Right.
So it's not even ironic; it's tragic.
Well, with the single-family homes on smaller lots, we're working with an owner right now who's interested in donating the house on the site, and he was working with us before AB 130 came to play. He's interested in donating the house to someone in Altadena, and to me, that's perfect.
Yes.
An issue, though, is we can't allow a move or a demolition before we have a project for a site, because we also don't want to just allow vacant lots to appear in the city without knowing what's coming and without having an approved project for that site. And because that opens a whole other way to blight the city. So that's a rule, and we don't know where this one's going to go. He's definitely interested, but it does extend the timeline. And I'm sure the situation in Altadena is not going to be saved or resolved in 2 or 3 years necessarily. So,
Is there?
but that was a great solution, and we're hopeful that that works out.
Is it possible to make recommendations to developers that they offer the properties for, $1 or whatever in order to make it possible for other developers or
Yeah, well, there are
individuals?
nonprofit groups specifically working in Altadena. I don't know if that's happening in the Palisades or not. And we certainly would at staff level, and that's partly where this discussion has gone. It would kind of be absurd to make that recommendation with the garden homes. for a variety of reasons. And also highly impractical. You know, this isn't, you can't pick up a 2.5 acre site and find a place to put it down. So, but for a single-family house on a relatively small lot, it's realistic. But we've had multiple property owners, 534 North Kenwood, several others over the years, where the owner did due diligence trying to find a site to relocate a house because they wanted to build, and we're open to that. Our rules allow us to relocate, and our first goal is to relocate in Glendale into a neighborhood that has similar housing stock, so it's not some alien dropping from the sky. And one guy in particular spent a lot of time looking at sites, couldn't find anything. You know, we're a built-out city, and he even explored other nearby cities, and this is years ago now, 12, 15 years ago, he didn't find anything, and he ended up selling to new property owners who were sued by members of our community. The house is decaying, a beautiful airplane craftsman, but evidently they're still moving, the owners are still moving forward. They got permission to build a 2-story multi-unit apartment building that will wrap the 2-story craftsman. To me, that's the win-win classic, you know, solution. But some members of our community really, through a lawsuit, put years of delay on that, and that's its own tragedy, so.
And also a question about Sears. Does this commission get an opportunity to express thoughts, opinions about what happens or how it happens in terms of development or
Not
redevelopment?
at this point. You would have if AB 130 didn't exist, but it's, you know, and I don't think Sears is a historic property personally, so, but members of the community do. And I think any reuse option for Sears was at odds with any historicity that it had. It was designed to be a box, not a building with windows, and to do a residential use of that building destroys why it was a historic building back in the day. But that's my personal and my personal professional opinion. But that's kind of also, that's not even an issue anymore. And the commission will not be able to weigh in on any of these others. We're going to be looking at new development, and this is for years to come, I think. The only solution is, and this could come from advocacy in the community, because we're not allowed to be advocates at staff level. Individual commissioners can be advocates, but not as commissioners. But going out to people who own identified properties and seeing if they're interested in designation. That's the only way. Or council does have the ability to designate properties over, and our problem is the owner objection provision, which some cities don't have, many cities don't have. But council, with a 4/5 vote, can designate, vote to designate properties. In today's age, I don't see that happening. But as elections come next year and in future years, that could change. And I imagine if a well-loved property in the community came on the chopping block through someone proposing this, an emergency designation isn't out of order if it was done before this preliminary application came in. And do we always know when that's coming in? I don't think we always know, so.
So CEQA right now, I think it's under California Public Resources Code 5020.1K, allows a resource to be considered a resource through a resolution. So if council wanted to adopt a resolution to treat something as a historical resource, they can.
CEQA does not allow, that's local law, that's not CEQA law.
No, it's a Public Resources Code.
Yeah, but it doesn't tell us that we have to allow something through a
You
resolution.
don't have to, but what I'm saying is.
We had to amend our code to allow council to designate
But what I'm
property.
saying is according to the Public Resources Code, California Register resources are not only properties listed, because some local governments don't have an ordinance.
Right.
And so the option to adopt a resolution is another way to get there that could be quicker.
Yeah, as determined by the local agency, it
That's right.
says, yeah.
So that's, but what I'm getting at is this doesn't, all of this around AB 130 doesn't change that possibility.
No, it does, very much so, in multifamily zoned areas for new residential projects.
But what I'm saying is if there's not.
It was gone
Wait a
for
minute.
those projects.
Wait a minute. If there's no project in the works and there's a house or a building that somebody's interested in saving, and if council, I mean, who knows what the council is going to support or not, and elections change everything over time. What I'm wondering and asking is, it may be a quicker process to get something to be, if you have council adopt a resolution, is that not quicker than going through this whole landmarking process? And would they still have that option?
I may be wrong, but I don't think your interpretation of that section of the CEQA law is correct. I think the part that you're thinking about is it says, in the absence of any designation or survey, a local jurisdiction may identify a property as a potential
It's not in the
historic resource.
absence. They always have that as their option. The ability to adopt a resolution does not mandate that there is no ordinance.
Well, then it's giving every jurisdiction the power that all jurisdictions already have to choose whether or not they want to have the power to designate a property.
Right.
Until we changed our ordinance to have the 4/5 vote, City Council had zero power to designate a Glendale Register property. It was only when we made that ordinance change that they got the 4/5 vote to do so. There was zero power for the city to designate a property before that, regardless of what the CEQA law says.
Okay.
Okay, so just to understand this, it's basically saying that if a site is not already under historic designation and it goes up for sale and there's a proposed building, a multi-unit building, then the multi-unit building will immediately get accepted and there's no stopping it. Is that the?
Pretty much. If it has to be designated before the preliminary application is submitted.
Okay.
So, and that's where I don't exactly know when do we call something the preliminary application versus, because we often hear from developers, we know something's in the works. We have early meetings before an application is even submitted to just talk about the what ifs or what do you guys think kind of stuff. Maybe those meetings won't be as frequent if people are trying to, just kind of submit applications quickly and get past that. So.
But only if the property is up for sale. That's the only time they would be submitting applications, correct?
Oh, no, any current owner who's owned it for years
Oh, I see.
could also
I see.
decide, hey, I'm going to cash out on this. And,
I understand. Okay.
yeah.
Commissioner Durham?
Just to comment on Commissioner Head's questions about the Sears site. It may have been the most recent DRB meeting, or it was one of the recent ones, but the DRB actually conducted the Stage 2 design review for the project proposed for Sears. A.C. Martin's the architect, and they were there presenting. And DRB voted to send it on to council with certain conditions. One of the conditions was that the developer and the architect at least consider trying to incorporate the Sears Tower into the design. But I know some time ago, I went to the initial scoping meeting for the EIR on the Sears site. And of course, historic preservation was going to be an element of the EIR. And of course, that's gone now. So it has changed totally.
So can AB 130 still require conditions or no? Like if, for example, One of the issues we've been dealing with in Los Angeles is Tex French Restaurant. You're familiar with Tex?
Yes, unfortunately, I've eaten there.
Such good, their food's okay. But, when that issue came up, you have this, this low-rise French restaurant, continental dining spaces and all of this from the early 60s. And they have a huge parking lot. And there would definitely be the possibility to build something taller and thinner on that lot and save the whole building. Is there, from what you're saying with AB 130, that cannot be made, like if there was a lot with a lot of space where hypothetically a developer can build taller and thinner and get all the units that they need, provided it's taller, but it saves the building. From what you're saying, there's no longer, the option of even proposing that's no longer on the table.
The city can't require anything like that. Now, a mob of placard-wielding, torch-bearing citizens shaming a developer into a different decision, who knows? I don't think so, but maybe. But we can't tell someone, hey, build taller and skinnier, but save Tex.
Right.
There's no way we can do that.
Right, or not, I mean, obviously, for an example, in Glendale.
We can't tell someone to keep the Sears Tower.
Right, Foxy's.
Yeah.
Knowing
Foxy's is a ka-ching site, just like Tex is, when you
Yeah.
look at the lot. And
Yeah.
so,
knowing what we know about the new legislation and on our kind of parameters, maybe the city should think about putting together almost a consulting a resource, because obviously all developers want to develop and fit. They're occupying people's space at the end of the day, so they all want to fit within the environment. Almost voluntarily agree to incorporate the Sears Tower, for example, into the as opposed to kind of being forced to. That might be an initiative that we can kind of explore, almost like a meeting with the developer, an option to meet with us, or not this group necessarily, but another kind of historic preservation group that can consult with the developer.
on the
right?
private end of things, as a PR gesture, things like that can happen. I'm not a believer in piecemeal saving pieces of buildings, even the tower part of Sears. Go down Wilshire Boulevard and go to the Brown Derby Plaza and see the sadness that exists where the Brown Derby sits on the second floor of a mini mall. And I tell my students that I'll be the first one to wield a sledgehammer to destroy that thing and put it out of its misery because I just feel so bad for it.
Yeah, but some folks feel really strongly, like I've heard the Sears Tower be mentioned so many times over the years.
Oh, I know.
So like, okay, fine. give
I'm
it
not,
to them.
I'm not always right or in the majority, certainly.
Yeah,
so.
no, I mean, it's just a conversation with the developer. Developer wins, right? And it gets a positive spin to their project. And the historic kind of walks away feeling a little bit satisfied that they got a little bit of what they want. I think it's a win-win in those conversations as opposed to let's not do anything about it because we can't and just kind of walk away
No,
from it.
I hear that, and I agree that it can be a nice gesture to the community to do something like that. And at this, at the Sears building, that tower's right on the corner. It's a great place to put a stair tower going up and down because that's what it was before. But corner units on residential buildings are the most valuable real estate. And so, who knows? So anyways, I don't know that we need to keep going on this, but I did
you have
want
a
to
good
bring it up to you because it's a big thing and it's going to hit us. But I say, this is speculative now. SB 9, everyone's like, oh no, SB 9, 4 units on a single lot. It hasn't been taken up by many people so far. SB 79 isn't? Yeah, that looks like, I don't know where that's going to go. So some things seem scary at the beginning and don't play out. AB 130 is already playing out on 2 big sites instantly. So I think this one's we're gonna notice this. So. All right.
Just one more thing about Sears. Back in 2022, because Commissioner Bartanian's thoughts are interesting, because this Stage 1 design review went to council, and several members of the council told the developer, yeah, because what's proposed is an 8-story multifamily structure on that property. The city council basically said, you need to go taller and have more open space and more variation in the heights. It just looks like an 8-story box. And the developer said, well, you know, that would require a steel frame structure. And it's not economic for us. We're going to do a stick frame over a podium structure. And so 8 stories is the limit, but we can't take it higher because it's not economic. So you run into, I mean, even back in 2022, when that was suggested, and the developer and the architect have so far come back with, 8-story box.
Type 5 construction, frame on podium, is ugly. It's hard to design well. We just created our transit-oriented district near the train station where we should have 30, 40-story towers being built. It's not going to happen, so.
One very last comment.
Yes, Inspector.
So I think probably 35, maybe even, it's been at least 35 years. The small Sears in the Mission District in San Francisco was converted into lofts. And that's in the back of my mind for this Sears.
Right. Did it have windows originally?
No.
I probably would have thought that one too.
Okay, well, on that happy note,
Did?
I think we are going to adjourn.
Yep, very
Is there
different.
something going on with staff? Was there
No, we're
something
just
else you wanted?
we're looking at the Mission District Sears that did
okay.
have a lot of windows. Yeah.
Okay.
Very easy conversion.
I think we are going to adjourn this meeting.
Yay.
7:03 PM.
Thank you, guys.